eine glanzvolle Premiere auf der Berlinale als Berlinale Special Gala Golden. Ein Porträt der israelischen Ministerpräsidentin, Regie führte der israelische Regisseur Guy Nativ, der sehr bekannt wurde durch seinen Nazi-Aussteigerdrama Skin. Jetzt erzählt er von Golda Meir in der Zeit des Yom Kippur-Krieges 1973, wie sie schwere strategische Entscheidungen fällen muss, aber auch, wie sie später Rechenschaft ablegen muss, denn dieser Krieg hat ja sehr viele Opfer gefordert. Diese berühmte Frau wurde ja schon gespielt von Anne Bancroft oder auch von Ingrid Bergman. Diesmal sehen wir in der Hauptrolle kaum wieder zu erkennen Helen Mirren, die Preisträgerin des Ehrenbären 2020 als Golda.
Mr. Secretary.
Not open a humanitarian corridor to Golda.
We'll send them water when we've got our prisoners back. And Sadat agrees to direct talks with Israel. Not the Zionist entity, Israel.
That will be tantamount to recognition.
Yes.
The Arab world will turn against it.
If he doesn't, I will order my planes to attack. All those men will die. All of them.
President from power may be handed to Israel.
Focus his mind.
You mean a madman bent on the destruction of Israel?
The Russians are on high. They are preparing 11 airborne defections to Israel.
When I was a child in Ukraine at Christmas time, my father would
Ward above the windows of our house to protect
us from Cossacks who would get drunk and attack Jews. They would beat Jews to death in the street for fun. My father would hide us in his house. And we'd stay silent, hoping the killers would pass us by. My father's face, Henry. I'm not that little girl hiding in the cellar.
First, I want to introduce you to the film team that's here to present the film tonight, which will be world premiering in the Berlinale Blast. So first, I'm introducing the screenwriter and producer, Nicholas Martin. Actor, Lior Ashkenazi. Academy Award-winning actress, Helen Mirren. And Academy Award-winning director, Guy Nativ. So we're going to open it up to some questions. We'll start here in the down, please.
Hi, I'm working for the French news agency AFP. Could you tell us what were your factual sources for the story? Did you work with the autobiography of Golda Meir, or did you do a lot of research about her decisions?
That's a beautiful question for Nick over there.
And there's been a tremendous amount has been written about Golda. I think there may be 100 biographies, and I started with them. But the story that we ended up with is quite a new take on her leadership during the Yom Kippur War, and I think much of the story that we've told is really from some quite new documents that have been declassified in the last 15 or 20 years. So it was, I ended up with my Golda library. It got to piled up on the floor. It got to my knee, and then it got to my waist, and then when you get on to Henry Kissinger, that man really writes a lot, and he has a lot to say. And just the Henry Kissinger chunk is sort of from about my knee up to my thigh, and so it was really trying to find a story within this massive information, and then condensing it down into the essence of what Golda did during those fateful 2 weeks, and really to try and capture. I felt that was the story I wanted to tell. That's the story we told, because it was the story that really captures who she was, her toughness and indefatigability. So I looked at everything I possibly could and talked to everyone I could, and that's the story that emerged.
Hello, it's Natalia from Ukrainian Movie Gram. First of all, thanks for the movie. I've been waiting for it for some time already. I've got two questions. One, maybe for the whole team. It's about the toughness and the situation when no matter which decision you make, there would be a lot of people who would be unhappy with the decision. And what do you think? I think maybe it's more for Helen. How did you find the strength in your character somehow, and how did you answer this question to yourself? Where did she take the strength to persevere her way and not to be distracted by all their side effects, which are also very serious? And the second very short one about the smoke. A lot of smoke in the movie, is it like more a metaphor, or she was just a very avid smoker and that's it? Thank you.
But just quickly say, yes, she just was a heavy smoker. She literally had a cigarette in her hand, all day and all night. So that was a quick answer for that one. Guy, do you want to deal with the other?
Oops, is it working? Okay. First of all, the smoke is kind of a metaphor of the, kind of the smoke in their eyes. They couldn't see what's in front of them. They couldn't see the truth. They smoke themselves to death. So it's like it's the smoke of our inner physical situation, but also the smoke of the commanders. And so the smoke is a metaphor for the entire movie. What was the other question?
Well, the difficulty of making the kinds of decisions that Golda had to make at that point in time.
Well, Golda was not a soldier. She was more of a stateswoman, and she relied on the commanders around her. The problem is that the commander around her lost their shit in a way. So the entire war, she didn't know what to do. One told her like 50,000 soldiers, the other one 20,000. So she was trying to make decisions and control the situation and calm everyone down. So I think it was a very challenging situation for her, and she was also. She didn't want to be prime minister because she was like, they told her just go. She said, it's not something I want to do, and she found herself in this junction. It was very complicated for her, but she managed to somehow, balance it all.
Hi, my name is Anna from ZDF. Hi, first off, congratulations on portraying yet another very strong female in a historic power position. David Mirren, congratulations for that. Thank you for the movie. And my question to you is, Golda Meir was probably a very complex character to play, I imagine. She was loved by many, she was hated by many, and despised by maybe some. So what fascinated you most about her, and also kind of hinting on the question that started, what was maybe most tricky about her playing her character? And then to all of you, we heard it prior, of course, Golda Meir was portrayed by Anne Bancroft and Ingrid Bergman in the past. Very different movies, indeed, but yet, did you ever reference them? That's the question.
She was an incredible person to enter into and to experience from within, if you like, which is, obviously what we have to do. I came away from it with the deepest of admiration for her, and indeed kind of a love for her. She was extraordinarily brave, and with a commitment to Israel that was total. And in a weird way, it's a bit like playing Elizabeth I of England, in the sense of, not because she had regality or anything, but her utter commitment to her country and to her nation. The absolute total dedication of her life to that was, and she achieved it with such, without being a sort of power mad, sort of dictatorial type character at all. She was very maternal. She was very sort of, and this is something I have in common with her, which she absolutely loved kitchen equipment. The latest like mixer, or I actually have that in common with her. I'm always buying the latest kitchen equipment. So she had that wonderful domestic side to her. At her happiest, she was on the kibbutz looking after the chickens. She always said that's really but life took her in a different direction. And because of her love of Israel and her dedication to Israel, she took that path and went on it. So it was an amazing character to inhabit. And just to reference the earlier question, of course I did watch some of Anne Bancroft playing Gold, and especially Ingrid Bergman, who was quite wonderful. But then from that point on, you make it your own. And we were very specifically dealing with, it's not a biopic, it's not her whole life. It's just this little section of her life when she was most challenged. And I thought that was a marvelous Guy's idea, just to take that section and really concentrate on that. And yes, I read a lot of books, obviously watched a lot of video, but I always find playing these characters, I like to look at their life up to the age of 20. It's really how they were as children and how they were created as children. And it's very interesting, and I love the fact Guy references that in this film, and as we just saw about her talking about growing up in Ukraine and what she experienced, and those experiences are the ones that form me, I believe.
And continue a little bit what Helen said. My inspiration was Das Blut, in a way that she's in the trenches. She's in one location, she cannot leave. She's very alone in this mayhem, war around, these men. But I wanted to keep it and to emphasize the sound rather than going out to war and see all the horror. So for me, that was the DNA from the beginning.
My name is Mahar Siddiq, African Refugee News. Hey, you went a long, long way from Panorama to
hello to you. How are you?
Now I'm really happy to see you again. I came over with you just now. This film is terrific because my friend who was in the war wrote me tonight. He said this was a bloody war, she lost friends there. So there's been open scars in Israel. Are you prepared for that? Because really...
I am prepared for that, and as an Israeli, I grew up with this knowledge that Golda is a complicated character, and this is the Vietnam of Israel. And going with this knowledge to portray Golda and the commanders, we addressed that in the movie. So you didn't get a sort of clean picture of, again, Helen said it's not a biopic. It's a very tough and hard look at the war and every soldier that dies and getting killed. Golda takes it to her heart, and you know, so it's, for me, it was going with my eyes open and hear all the comments, and it will evoke reaction. But we also, Golda is not a super clean character in this movie. She has her faults, she did mistakes, and she took responsibility, which leaders are not doing mistakes. She did, and eventually she resigned. So yeah, I'm willing to start the discussion in Israel. Can't wait for that.
Hi, question from Brazil, Rodrigo Fonseca, Estadão. I have two questions. The first one from Mrs. Helen Mir. Whenever Golda addresses Kissinger, we hear the word Henry, the name Henry, a sign of friendship, a sign of trust. I would like to understand your perspective about this friendship and how was it built during your acting with Liv Schreiber. And a question to you. Throughout all the film, we see television showing the facts. I would like to understand your point of view of the importance of TV to that war.
Well, we were very excited when we signed up for the film, because for a long time we had no Henry Kissinger, did we? And we'd started the film already, and we still didn't know who was going to be playing Henry Kissinger. So, you know, we were very anxious about who we might get, and it was a great day when we signed up for it. Yes, Golda and Henry Kissinger did have a, I wouldn't say a close friendship, but clearly there was some sort of chemistry between them, that they sort of understood each other on some level. I'm sure that Henry Kissinger respected Golda enormously, and certainly vice versa. And obviously America was so important to Israel. You know, one of Golda's great achievements in the early days of Israel was going to America, long before she was president, to collect money for Israel, to try and get Israel going. And she was enormously successful as a fundraiser. And so she had this relation. Oh, obviously she was American anyway, you know, actually. So yes, they did have, I think, a very, very good relationship. I mean, it was challenging because they were both pragmatic and you know, people fighting for their own point of view. You know, it wasn't plain sailing, far from it.
Can you repeat? Can you repeat the second part of your question again?
TV. So in 1973, the Israeli TV was in its first steps, right? So you suddenly saw all the 16mm footage from the war to all the houses. So that's what I wanted to bring. You know, also making the movie in one location, I wanted to have a little of, you know, those images of people walking in the streets, or, you know, and all their speeches on the TV. That was the first time that the leader spoke to the people. It didn't happen before, so it was important for me to show that the Israeli TV is broadcasting these monumental moments. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Sam Schwartzstein, Jewish Graphic Agency. Two questions. First one about the script. The film ends with Golda Meir and Roosevelt bonding, discussing their grandchildren together. And I was curious why, how you came about with thinking about that ending. And then the second one is to do with reception. Golda Meir, famous institutionalist, and here in this film over and over again repeats, "I'm not soldier," and it's very, very differential to the division of powers as they stand. And what is the significance of it arriving today, which is such a momentous and dark day for Israel's Jewish democracy and institutions?
Start with the.
What was
the first one again?
The first question has
the ending. That's right. Yes, I'm sorry. It's a film about a war, but all Golda wanted was peace. If we're going to get peace, very often we have to fight the war first of all, and we're unfortunately seeing that right now. I think that she had a very friendly feeling with Sadat at the end, and that comes through in that clip. And I think she just, the crowning achievement of her life was really that through this war, through her actions, Israel and Egypt made peace. That peace stands today. Egypt and Israel cooperate a great deal, often in secret, on all sorts of security matters, and that border is secure and reasonably peaceful. And that, I think, is her crowning achievement. So I think that my gut feeling I remember seeing that footage. I was 10 years old in 1973, and I can remember that footage on the TV and seeing her. And it just seemed to me that this is the perfect ending for a film which is really kind of an anti-war film. But that's all Golda wanted, was safety for her children and for her grandchildren. And she achieved a great deal.
I work for the program Shalom on Deutschlandfunk, among others, and I wanted to ask Guy, first of all, when you were a child, you learned that Golda Meir was a hero. Later on, you discovered that she's the one behind the 2,569 dead soldiers. Did your view of Golda Meir change through the film, through doing this film, and in which way? And the second question is the pogrom, which she did actually experience a pogrom when she was 4 years old, but she experienced the way their family was protecting their house. Her sister Shaina got a knife and so on and so forth. Maybe Nicholas Martin can say something in which way this pogrom has influenced her decisions also in the war, which we see here, her mistrust, and Israel should be above everything and very strong, and in which way this also hindered her to accept a peace offer in 1971, maybe we would not have all this war.
Let's talk about just the pogrom.
Yeah, go on.
I think that the image in her, I think in her autobiography, she said she describes hiding in the cellar with her father, and it was this look on his face that, when she grew up, she says to Kissinger, "I'm not that little girl hiding in the cellar anymore." And for me, it sends a shiver up my spine just to even think of her, this determination and what that meant to her. To see her father so afraid, so humiliated, and desperate to protect his children. And I think that this feeling she carried throughout her life.
And therefore the need for Israel to exist. And that was, to me, that was her driving energy and force and spirit, was the understanding that Israel must exist. There must be somewhere for the Jewish people to be safe. Rather than some personal thing in herself and her family, it was for the people to have somewhere. So I felt that was incredibly important. And she said that the look on her father's face.
Okay, so for me, she was a myth. She was like the Iron Lady of Israel. And then she became a 50 shekel bill icon, And then after that, I didn't know anything about her rather than all the official war stories, right? Until 10 years ago. And then the secret came out and all the, stuff from the war room. And then I discovered her, that she was sick and she fought through the war and all the anecdotes that I didn't know about her, and that what kept us wanting to tell the story. Because she was flesh and blood something. She was human, and I don't think that Israelis have this vision of Golda, who she really was. And I think this movie will kind of open, because people didn't know she was sick, she was hiding it. And this handkerchief operation that sneaked her into the hospital, through the dead. It's just stuff that I didn't know and fascinated me, and she became a real powerful woman to me.
I think also what I didn't understand, or I didn't realize until we made the film, what was the impact of the loss of this generation of young men on Israel, because there were so few young men in Israel. It was a very young country, and it hadn't really dawned on me until we made the film. It was the loss of a generation for Israel. It was a small country with not a lot of young people, so to give such a huge, comparatively huge number over to a war and to lose them in this war was just absolutely traumatizing for this little country. And Golda took the weight of that on her shoulders, unfairly actually, as it turned out. And she never complained, and she never put the blame on anyone else. But actually, and she was vilified, wasn't she, Guy, yeah, in Israel after the war? Absolutely vilified. And it actually wasn't ultimately her fault. I mean, it was in the sense that she was the one in charge. So, of course, the buck stops here, so to speak. But, she never tried to put the blame on anyone else. She squarely faced it, which was another element of her courage and her character.
Hello, Helen Lalo from the Australian newspaper. Hi, Helen. Hi. You, I believe, gave a speech about the Queen at the BAFTAs yesterday. She lived a lot longer, amazingly. Could you compare the two roles? In a way, you've had a very self-contained face. Did you have any prosthetics for this, or was it just makeup? And could you compare the two roles? And how much did you know about your character and Golda growing up since you're Israeli?
You want to start? Yes, I did have makeup, obviously, a lot of makeup.
4 hours a week.
Yes,
4 hours every day.
Every single day, and taking them off.
Yeah. An incredible makeup team, incidentally, 2 young girls who were just wonderful. And also costume, incredibly important. So those elements, whatever character you're playing, the costume and the makeup is very, very important. It's part of the creation of the story, really. So very, very important. A great tool to enter into the character. And it always sort of rather surprised me at the end of the day when I took it all off and that was me again. Because I got so used to being, looking in the mirror and being that person.
I actually didn't see you for 35 days. So, hold on.
It's the first time I see you as well.
It's the first time.
Yes, because I arrived before you guys and I left after you guys. That's true. Yes. So yes, incredibly important, and you're in the hands of artisans and craftspeople who are brilliant at their own, in their own field. And our makeup people were fantastic. Karen, the head of makeup is. Here? I don't know if she's here, but which is a shame. She can tell you more about it. But she's with us, isn't she? Yeah. Yes.
Just compared to the Queen's self-contained kind of visual.
I don't think Golda was really like the Queen. No, as I said,
Earlier, if there was an equivalence, it would have been probably Elizabeth I, in that sense of utter dedication. Of course, Elizabeth II had that as well, so I guess on that level. But no, I think Golda was a more emotionally expressive person, maybe, than Elizabeth II. She had the ability, which all leaders have got to have, of being contained within a public sphere. You can't be emotional all over the place. But I think she was very passionate. I think she was a very passionate person, but very practical as well, enormously practical.
And compassionate.
And compassionate, yes. Passionate, compassionate, and practical, yes.
Leo?
Yes, I was 4 years old when the war started, and I remember after the war ended, I remember my father talking about that chief of staff, because he was the only one who was blaming about this war. I mean, the politicians were cleared because they came ready and with their lawyers or whatever, and he was the only one who actually such a tragic character. And I was researching about the carrying about Dado and reading the protocols from people who were, and it was, I mean, Israel actually won because of him. I can't say won because we didn't won this war. You can't say that. But he was the one who actually took command in the cabinet, and we pulled up because she put him in charge because it was a chaos there. You can actually see it when you read the protocols, and it's like Dado and Golda were together in this generals thing, and he actually he was the the engineer of this winning, but again, he was to blame for the for what happened, and that was so tragic. And so we tried to bring the truth into the screen in a way.
And he got a heart attack.
Just after the war. Yeah. He couldn't clear his name.
Yes, I think we're just going to have maybe one last question.
Hello, Kate Connolly from the Guardian newspaper. With no disrespect to your striking performance, Helen Mirren, and also direct to Guy, I just wondered what debates you have had in the making of this film, now that it's come out, about the questions about authentic casting, and the debate that there has been, particularly in the UK, I don't know about elsewhere, about whether Jewish people should be playing Jewish parts, or whether actors should just be allowed to act. I'd be really interested to hear how your thoughts on this might have developed. You've also said that this is a legitimate question to ask, Helen. Thank you.
Hello there. I can tell it from my point of view as director. When I met Helen in my house, I felt like I'm meeting a family member, like an aunt, So I felt that I'm meeting someone from like a Jewish person, because for me she's got the Jewish chops to portray Golda. We spoke about Golda for 4 hours. She totally got everything, every nook and cranny, everything in his character. And for me, other than the fact that I adore Helen, and I think she's, to be honest, I think she's one of the best, actors in the world. I just found her very authentic to me. Now, one of the terms from the director's movie to surround her with Israeli cast, to bring Israeli editor, and to bring Israeli more people from Israel to make it more kind of like so I would feel that I'm making an Israeli movie, right? And that helped a lot to have Leo and all the team here. But I told you from my end, there's no doubt for me And that's why I was so surprised to see this reaction, because, and Helen said something very smart. She said, okay, so let's say only Jews can portray Jews, but what about Jews not portraying Jews? Is this not allowed anymore? So it's like limiting us in such a way, and I think that Israeli and Jewish actors have no limitation of and they have no problems to portray, around the world. You can see that Israeli actors or in international shows, and so for me as a Jewish Israeli director, I have no problem with that.
Can I give my
yeah, sure, please.
Let's say tomorrow's a movie about Jesus Christ. Who's going to play him? A Jew or a non-Jew?
Well, it won't be me.
I can tell you the two of Golda's grandsons are here in Berlin, and they've seen the movie. They're absolutely thrilled, and they're very, very thrilled that Helen played their grandmother, and I think that counts for a lot.
Yeah, I spoke to Gidi, her grandson, who spoke to you, Nick, before we started, and he said, absolutely, it was my idea to have Helen, and then it was just a no-brainer.
And before we close, Guy, any last things that you want to say about the film, about the experience of making this film?
Wow, it was just, I'm so, it sounds cliche, but I'm so honored to tell this story with Helen and all the team, and Michael, our producer here, who did everything possible for this film to happen, and Nick, your brilliant script. I mean, it was something I would never forget, and thank you for all your generosity. Helen, you're just amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you, everyone.
That was HBO.
Was it not
I can